Pledge allegiance to the flag. Okay. I just want to check, see if anybody's recording this meeting tonight. There not being any, go on. We'll turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
Want to announce to everyone and congratulate the teachers, just as the Chamber of Commerce did last year, they went and made surprise visits to schools in like a publisher's clearinghouse fashion. And those were shared this morning at the networking breakfast. So I'd like to just announce the names of those grant recipients from across the district. Sarah Cannell, Karen Loach, and Stephanie Algieri, and Jessica Young, all from Auburn Middle School. Elizabeth Bohm, Patricia Horgan, Rachel Lacombe from Bryn Mawr School. Chris Aristo and Corinne Murphy from the Julia Bancroft School. Elisa Lemire, Nicole Dunn, Elizabeth Cosell, and Doreen Guitar, as well as Allison Hill, Jillian Hakins, Amanda Green, and Laura Walsh from the Mary D. Stone School. And Carol Bowes, Julie Fridella, Christine Savage, and Allison Morrissey from the Packagug School. So I congratulate all of those, as well as thanking those in attendance, those who wrote grants, I should say, who were not awarded them. Because it takes as much time to write, oftentimes, a grant that's not awarded as one that is awarded. So this morning, they actually gave me a large check for the total amount here, which was over $2,700 that the Chamber raises primarily from their fall golf tournament, which is great. The next item I wanted to make you aware of is Cynthia Bazinet. She's an English teacher at our high school. She's been invited to serve as a panelist for a webinar through the United States Department of Education. One of her professors, Dr. Paul Nasso, who is an expert presenter, has asked her to join. And the topic is around informal teacher leadership. I think this is a great recognition for Cynthia for her work and her leadership. But also I thought it was important that you knew the reason that she felt especially proud, because she believes, as I noted in here, that she was chosen because she speaks so highly of the environment, support, and leadership opportunities afforded to teachers in Auburn who choose to productively contribute. So I did provide you a link if you have interest in that, but certainly kudos to Ms. Bazinet for doing this, and I know that she will well represent us, for sure.
Okay. Turn over to the student representative report.
Well, thank you very much. So the big news that's going around in Auburn High School this week is obviously the girls field hockey team who won last night is going to play in the state championship Saturday at noon at WPI against Watertown. And if they win that game, they'll cap off an undefeated season, which is great. Although Watertown is going to be a tough opponent because they did some research on them and Watertown's won their last 114 games in a row. And then next Friday, the Booster Club is sponsoring a hypnotist show, the 22nd, and tickets will go on sale tomorrow at lunch, and they'll be $8 at lunch or $10 if you buy them at the door, which should be a great show because my mom's been telling me all about it because she's in charge of it. Finally, last night, the middle school and high school both had their chorus concerts last night, and they did a great job, and it was a good showing too. And I believe that's it.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for the report. Any questions? No? Okay. Turn it back over to you.
So now we're going to continue with budget presentations tonight, and what I'll do is just go down and join the leadership team, and we'll do one after the other, welcoming any questions you may have, and I'll turn it over first to Mr. Charles Pietrillo, our Fine Arts Director.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, let's see if I can do this. Okay.
Just press the arrow.
Press the- Okay, on this one.
This right here, I think.
Okay,
There you go.
there we go. So this is just a quote in Albert Einstein. If I were not a physician, I would probably be a physicist, excuse me. I would probably be a musician. I often think in music. I live in my daydreams in music. I see my life in terms of music. A lot of people do that same thing. They see their life in terms of music, kids especially. And for art, every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist once you grow up. As a child, you don't have the inhibitions that you have as an adult, and you can just let the art flow as a child. So we strive to get the children to become artists as they grow up. This is just an overview of what we do. In grades kindergarten through 5, every child has art and music. Standards-based, meets the state frameworks for arts. We're currently reviewing the national core standards for the arts. The music ones are there, and they're under review right now. I was at a workshop recently, and we were looking at them. And they're pretty stringent, but they're doable. And the states are looking at them, the music educators of the states are looking at them and saying, yes, we can meet this, no, we can't meet this. So they're under review right now, and we're all involved in looking at that. And that's really just informational for right now. Grades 6 through 8, grade level choruses, grade level band, all performance-based. For art, all students take art. Different times. Some take it all 3 years, some take it 1, some take it 2, depending on what they have in their schedule. High school, we have a smorgasbord of electives. I won't go through them all, but they're all there, and we have I can speak for chorus since that's what I do. This trimester I have about 130 kids in chorus, which is wonderful. And we did have our concert last night, and I have to say I was extremely proud of my students and the middle school chorus also. The kids sang from their hearts, and it was beautiful, and I'm very proud of them. And tomorrow is our band concert, middle school through high school band concert, so that should prove to be interesting. And our marching band is going to open the program this year, and that's going to be a lot of fun. That always gets the audience going. Oh, unfortunately, their uniforms are not in yet, and we're still waiting. And Miss Bailey is really upset, but she's excited. She can't wait for the uniforms to come in. Our accomplishments this year, the implementation of a full marching band, new uniforms, updated band, and new band equipment. We now have monthly staff meetings K through 12 with our specialists. Thank you, principals. It's greatly appreciated. We had difficulties meeting together over the years, except on professional development days. At least now we have once a month where we meet to talk about district things. We can talk about teaching and learning and any of the things that are going on in the district, how it affects music and art. We have students participating in art shows and music festivals. We are working on district-determined measures for the fine arts since we are specialists. And we've made progress in the elementary music class scheduling issues that we've had over the years. We've made some progress in that, and we hope to make more for next year. Just a breakdown of our current year budget and our next year's proposed budget. There is a difference. Next year is less, primarily due to the band uniforms. It's a one-time expenditure, and then it's small expenditures to replace things that get damaged, or if the program grows, it's a small expenditure over the future years. So that actual line item, the $2,500 for band uniforms might even be less the following year, because we might only have to replace 2 or 3, or if we have growth, we might have to add 2 or 3. So that's really the difference in the numbers. We currently have 6.6 full-time music staff system-wide. We currently have 4.8 art staff system-wide, and there is a proposal for a 0.2 increase in the art to balance both sides of town. Currently, we have a full-time on one side, and we have a 0.8 on the other side. And there's some inequities there of what can be offered on both sides of town. elementary the principals will speak to that further, I'm sure. The opportunities we give for students going on to further studies in the arts, a fine arts education that promotes continued participation in the arts beyond the school year and beyond their school life. And our goal is really to have lifelong participants in the arts and make students aware of the arts after they graduate and when they go on into life and become wonderful adults in the community. One more. Ah, here we go. Any
Do you have
questions?
any questions from the committee? Liz?
I'm all set.
Well, you know something, I have to tell you that chances are, because every year we do, we're not able to fund everything. So I feel like if I don't ask the questions, I don't know when something gets cut, if it should be cut, in my opinion. So I'm going to ask questions.
Okay.
So just be prepared, I'm sorry.
Sure.
So I was curious, when you're talking about your monthly staff meetings, is art incorporated into lessons that the teachers do? I mean, is that, if they're doing a unit on something specific, does art then incorporate something into that?
As much as possible. I know, and if I'm speaking out of turn, you guys can jump in. From what I understand, at the elementary level, they do have an art component in some of the classrooms, but not all of them. Whereas the art teacher might come in and do a special unit or
Okay.
something special. And high school, that does happen with certain things. The art teacher at the high school is involved school-wide, doing all sorts of things.
Okay. Band uniforms, so you're saying that they need to be replaced if they're damaged or whatever. How do you deal with size?
When I say damaged, currently, we've purchased specific sizes for the children that we have now. And as they graduate, drop out or whatever, or drop out of band, not drop out of school.
Yeah.
As
they move on,
As they
yeah.
move on, they get handed down, they're responsible for dry cleaning and maintaining them. But after a few years, you do have to replace, and things could get damaged just.
Well, I'm just thinking about size,
Size,
if you're
if we-
handing it down and there's nobody that size.
Well, and that's why you have to keep some money available for that, just in
And
case.
so you feel like that's enough to deal with that
Yeah,
situation? Okay.
years ago, I remember I'm talking 20 years ago, we did have a student that was quite heavy, and that person, we had to special order the uniform because it wasn't a standard size, and we
Yeah.
had none that would fit that child. So we did have to order.
Right.
And we actually had the same, on the opposite end, we had someone that was very small, and everything was, the pants were just ridiculously
Right,
big. So we
because
had
there's nothing worse than having to go out on the field in front of everybody and your uniform isn't fitting
Right,
correctly.
so-
Because we
so
all
you-
know that students at that age
Right.
really want to look good.
We have to look at that every year and see who we have.
Okay. And I just want to make sure from the principals, you are going to be talking about the differences between schools and the issues with music and art. Will be addressed, so we don't have to do that now. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Anybody else?
You all set, George?
I'm all set, thanks.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have Ms. Dunny, who is actually going to present for Mr. Garno, who is out sick today, so she has offered to present in his absence. And if you just hit this right arrow, it brings you right through.
All right, good evening. I'd like to begin on behalf of Mr. Bill Garno, Auburn High School Athletic Director, by offering his regrets for not being able to be with you here this evening in person. That being said, I was both happy and willing, in his absence, to attempt to try and fill his shoes. This past year has been an exciting one, once again, for Auburn High School and the town of Auburn as our athletic programs continue to have great success on and off the fields. Teachers and coaches have worked extremely hard throughout the school year to give our students and athletes the best opportunities for success. Our summer conditioning programs have had great participation, with coaches and athletes making a huge commitment to getting ready for the upcoming year. The graduating class of 2013 left some huge shoes to fill, both literally and figuratively. But hopefully we have students and athletes waiting in the wings to get their chance. And you can see as the fall's already progressed that that's not going to follow. The following is a list of accomplishments from this past school year. Football. Southern Worcester County League champions and Division III Super Bowl champions. It was an undefeated season. Field hockey. And again, this is last season. Southern Worcester County League champions. Boys and girls cross country. Multiple participants in the district meet. Girls basketball. Southern Worcester County League champions. Girls and boys indoor track. Great participation numbers and strong performances in the league and district meets. Boys basketball, Southern Worcester County League champions and Clark Tournament champions. Boys ice hockey, district qualification. Girls ice hockey, great season and almost qualified for the tournament for the first time. Girls soccer, Southern Worcester County League champions. Boys golf, Southern Worcester County League champions. Softball, Southern Worcester County League champions. Baseball, Southern Worcester County League champions, district champions, and the Central West champions and state finalists. Girls spring track were Southern Worcester County League champions, and boys spring track had multiple participants in the district and state meets. Purchased boys and girls basketball uniforms. Community service projects were completed by all teams. The completion of the press box, although the sound system is still in progress. Continued collaboration with the Parks and Recreation departments. We maintain academics as our #1 priority, and a continued commitment to sportsmanship. And now some figures from this past year with the Auburn High School coaching salaries, $156,000, $819. Auburn Middle School coaching salaries at $10,800. Part-time athletic trainer at $20,000, and the fitness room stipend was $2,000. The support costs, athletic director's office supplies at $460, postage $300, athletic director dues $290, the athletic and the physical education classroom supplies at $5,000, and high school athletic transportation $50,000, and game management and ice time came to $35,000, $427, including a $5,000 offset. And breaking that down, you see the ticket takers were at $1,000, athletics reconditioning at $14,000, middle school officials $2,000, middle school transportation $4,900, middle school equipment at $4,000, team equipment $15,800, supplies, training, and first aid $4,249, athletic awards at $5,746, athletic insurance at $9,200, and then the MIAA and the SWCL dues at $5,600, On behalf of Mr. Garno and the Auburn Public Schools, we thank you for your support of our student athletes. Without the support of the district administration, yourselves, and the community, our children would not have the opportunities to experience the life skills that are gained through athletics. Thank you. And do any of you have any questions this evening?
Thank you. Any questions in the committee?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Liz? Thank you.
So next we have the elementary, right? Elementary principals who will present, and I will turn it over to them.
Good evening. On behalf of the leadership team, I'd like to thank you in advance for your consideration and support of all that you'll hear presented tonight. As you heard Dr. Brunel speak so eloquently last night, at the heart of this process is our children. So to first begin, I'd like to acknowledge and remind all of us of the many successes that are realized at each and every school throughout the district each and every day. Our students' successes are many and each should be celebrated and recognized. On that same note, we as a leadership team understand that we must also have the vision to anticipate and adequately prepare to meet the challenges of tomorrow. With every presentation, we've included and referenced our core values. This speaks to the continuity of a strong foundation upon which we've built and strengthened our practice as educators. Using our mantra of rigor, relevance, and relationships, we continue to focus our discussions, meetings, and decisions around our core values. These are entrenched in the cultures at each of the 5 schools. The elementary principals would like to begin by first providing updates to our school improvement plans. Our first goal focuses on curriculum instruction and assessment. Through ongoing conversations surrounding teaching and learning, we've continuously strived to increase student achievement across the district by ensuring that the best practices are in place to meet the rigorous standards of district, state, and federal assessments. Through horizontal and vertical meetings, teachers and administrators have reviewed our core math programming, page by page, unit by unit, to ensure that we are aligned with the Common Core state standards. Teachers at each grade level have met during staff meetings to determine the lessons to emphasize to ensure mastery, while still providing students the practice of mathematical thinking necessary for success. As vertical teams met, conversations surrounded the skill alignment. Decisions were made where each skill must be introduced, practiced, and mastered. Using the core as our guide, we were able to focus our units of instruction at each grade level, create the formative assessments to provide ongoing data, and an assessment tool for each unit to ensure that students have effectively mastered the skills and the content. This process allowed us to compare the skills at each grade level and discuss how we can support each other in preparation for the next grade. Moving forward, previously I presented information on our Keys to Literacy comprehension focus. Though not new, this speaks to our continued focus on the refinement of our instructional practices implemented through this program. Across the district, the implementation of these strategies are seen in practice through such things as Socratic questioning across the content areas, vocabulary development, and graphic organizers specially designed to support students' learning and writing. Our summers, as you know, are quite busy. Our primary teachers had multi-grade representation to align the phonics program to our Houghton Mifflin program. Our intermediate teachers refined the writing continuum, researched and found anchor texts to be utilized to model what good writing looks like through authentic literature. The district-wide benchmark math assessments were revised to align with the Common Core state standards. Teachers worked at various grade levels to create common rubrics that are representative of the expectations of the given writing piece. This too provided teachers, students, and parents clarity and feedback as to the expectations of each of those pieces. Co-teachers met to develop units of instruction to provide differentiated lessons that will ensure all of our students have access to the curriculum and have lessons aligned in doing so. Finally, our summer was also spent overseeing and working with teachers to revise our standards-based report card in order to communicate the progress of students towards meeting their grade level standards and communicate that effectively to students and parents. I would be remiss if I did not mention how, as administrators and educators alike, we at the elementary school have really refined our use of data. We've often spoken about data-driven instruction, but I can state with all assuredness that how we conduct our data meetings now has grown and improved tremendously. As our focus on what we expect as a result of these meetings have improved, so too have the teachers been able to better utilize this information more carefully and concisely. They can quickly begin to target each child's needs by reviewing assessments, discussing intervention strategies, and using creative materials to achieve their goal. Whether through technology or interactive activities, small group or one-to-one instruction, the data and instruction related to this analysis has truly grown exponentially and has yielded tremendous growth in skill acquisition. At this time, I'd like to now bring Principal Kozik to the microphone to explain our professional development.
Thank you. And as we talk this evening and present our information to you, you may hear some repetition because a lot of what we're talking about falls into many different categories. So please bear with us if it sounds like you've heard this before. As Dr. Burnell and Dr. Lozay spoke to last evening, we are sticking with our commitments to training in a few focused areas. This multi-year commitment to improvement in teaching, learning, and leadership is seen through our work with the Keys to Literacy routines. This is, excuse me, this is not a program of materials, but rather a routine based on research findings regarding effective comprehension instruction. And that's something teachers and administrators have been looking for several years now. The Key Comprehension Routine is a combination of comprehension, writing, and study strategies that help students understand and learn content information. The routine helps teachers provide effective comprehension instruction while using the existing subject material that we have. Keys is based on an I, we, you format. Instructional practices begin with explicit instruction, practice, gradual release of responsibility to the learner, scaffolding, and differentiated instruction. Therefore, that's the I do it, we do it together, and then the independent you. In reading, comprehension is the art of constructing meaning from what is read. So Keys strategy helps the teacher and the learner. The training continues. Did I go too far? There we go. The training continues and the implementation occurs across the curriculum. Our instructional assistants have been included in this Key training. This allows us all to highlight and embrace the adjective to their instructional assistant position. By keeping them up to date with trainings, they're better able to assist students and teachers. So together we share expectations, strategies, and honor the important role they play in the academic day. Our co-teaching partners are part of this Keys training as well, so they bring a double dose of that routine to the classrooms. The co-teaching partners that we see at each grade, K to 5, bring the Keys knowledge to teaching and planning. The on-site visits from our outside trainers, Donna and Joan, who visit classrooms, observe the partnerships in action, then meet to debrief with the teams. And during those sessions, valuable insight, teaching tools, and validation for their work is received by our teachers from the trainers. The new EdEval model encompasses 100% of professional staff this year, as well as all administrators. As has been said from this podium before, the continuous improvement in teaching and learning and the collegial conversations that arise from this model have proven very advantageous for all. And as you heard last night, about 26 teachers are currently attending the retail training every other week for the remainder of the school year. This afternoon happened to be one of those days. The district, with the help of Dr. Lozay, is working to get all identified teachers and administrators trained over the next 3 years. Administrator training begins for many of us right after the holidays. As an administrative team, we always feel supported by the school committee. That support was most recently felt when we heard of the town meeting vote as it pertained to the iPad carts. Your belief in us and the work that our teachers do is felt across the district. When we have 25 iPads shared by 12 to 13 classrooms in an elementary building of over 250 students. That makes for a lot of waiting to get your hands on that piece of technology. So this new acquisition will allow many more opportunities for student engagement prior to and well after the park assessment period. The iPad allows students to discover apps and websites that enhance learning and presentations. Prezis are a favorite presentation tool at our grade level and probably across a lot of schools. It's a PowerPoint, but it's got a twist and a flip and a zoom component to it, so it makes it fun for the kids. Socrative, which is listed up here, allows an iPad to become a clicker or an electronic answering device. And through Socrative, teachers and students get real-time results from teacher-generated questions. Teachers can see on their screen the actual student responses to each individual question and make important instructional changes for individuals, but the students see only the results in a graph format on the screen. And based on the data that they can see, classroom discussions can occur about what was the distractor, why did so many people pick this answer when it should have been this, and therefore, in turn, it better equips them for future questioning. Google is now used for email, calendar, and sharing documents across the hall or across the district. Some here are more proficient than others, but we're all improving and moving forward. Lexia continues to be utilized in several buildings. We've spoken before about this technology-based reading program. It's been designed to increase reading proficiency by focusing on critical foundational literacy skills, and it's effective with elementary students, ELL students, and even struggling readers at the secondary level can benefit from exposure to this. Read Live, or Read Naturally, as it's sometimes referred, is used as an intervention for building reading fluency while addressing comprehension as well. It's not listed there, but it's important to mention that students are placed at an appropriate reading level for them, and a specific words per minute goal is set for them. Then Read Live allows the students to select a passage of his or her liking from a large collection of stories. And with many high-interest, non-fiction pieces to pick from, students are motivated to read independently. So through Read Live, students read, they learn interesting content, answer comprehension questions, and improve their vocabulary, and build speed and fluency. Progress monitoring is built into the program, and reports are generated for the teachers so that they can assess that progress. Storybird and Story Jumper allow our budding authors to create and share their own works of art, written art. WebQuest is one way to make use of the internet while engaging students in the kinds of thinking that the 21st century requires. Finally, assistive technology. As its name implies, it's technology that assists individuals in a variety of ways. DragonSpeak types what a student dictates, and eBooks read while students read along and listen. Dynavox creates icons by which students can then communicate their wants, their needs, and carry on a conversation. So technology is expanding daily, and we're working hard to keep up with all it has to offer. We'll invite the primary principals up.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. Again, I'll reinforce, there will be some repetition here, but I think the repetition, as Dr. Lozay mentioned last night, really speaks to the consistency that's being built within the schools and among all of the leadership team. This next slide has to do with leadership. And I think typically I tend to jump right into the slide, but the goal really being to create a collaborative and cohesive leadership approach to teaching and learning. And I think the items here really support that statement in growing numbers with what our teachers and our staff is able to do. So when we look at the first one, being building-based teams, we all have a number of building-based teams that support students, whether it be our safety team, we have a PBIS team, our school council, we have grade level teams. Last year, and I know coming up again in the spring, we'll do Complete a TELS survey, which is a survey done by the Department of Education about the environment in our school buildings. That's another way we can communicate with our staff about what's going on. The building representation for each of the curriculum committees, these are cyclical things where we look at literacy or math, and soon we'll be diving into science once we have adopted standards. So there's a real grassroots collaboration for each of these things, which really make the products powerful and meaningful to everyone involved. This past summer, we had a number of teacher-initiated professional development opportunities. Again, they were spoken about earlier, whether it was about phonics or the writing continuum, but those were things that the teachers brought to us that said, this is what we need to work on to elevate the level of instruction in this area. And then they collaborated, I believe in all cases, across town, whether it was vertical or horizontal, so that it's not schools working in isolation, but really these are collaborative and cohesive opportunities for us to all work together. The educator evaluation team is another team that's brought together administrators and educators, and I feel here has been a really high-functioning team, where we've been able to really target and identify what our staff needs, what our administrators need, what administrators need to do for staff to make this a successful endeavor when we go through this new evaluation model. So that team's really been instrumental in creating a program that everyone feels supported by. Professional learning communities continue to grow in each of our schools, where teachers meet on a weekly basis and they're talking about student work. What is the student work telling us about what our kids can do and what their challenges still remain to be? So really authentic investigation into what our students are showing us. We've had a tremendous increase in that vertical and horizontal collaboration, particularly at the elementary level, right? We're kind of in a unique situation with having two of each of us. But that collaboration has developed over the last couple of years in many ways. And it's people that have known each other for years that now are working together regularly, and it's really exciting for them to be with their colleagues from crosstown. We continue to have a number of staff pursuing advanced study opportunities, which raise all kind of opportunities for leadership situations within the school district. Our teacher mentors play a critical role for our new staff, and that program has developed again over the 4 years that I've been here, where they really are able to welcome in our new teachers, provide them that boots on the ground kind of support. When you're talking about how do I do report cards for the first time, all of those kind of things that new teachers need help with. Our teacher mentors are instrumental in helping with that. And community service learning has really become an embedded practice in each of the elementary schools. And typically, those community service learning initiatives come from teachers, right? They're looking at things that interest them, that interest their students, that tie to the curriculum, that really make things come alive for kids. So we just have so many opportunities now to really build on that leadership, and you can really feel the momentum, and things are moving along really well in that regard. Our next goal has to do with facilities. You heard a little bit through Mr. Gray last evening as he reported for Mr. Fahey. We continue to all feel very supported by Mr. Fahey and our facilities crew and our custodians and the staff that help to maintain our buildings. So on an ongoing basis, we're all communicating with them and working together, and I think our buildings, particularly some of ours that are a little on the older side, we can feel very proud of how they look and what they're able to offer our students. We have had additional work done around ADA compliance. Bryn Mawr School has a lift in front of it, if any of you have seen that. So that's been a big recent addition, which has been great for our students and our visitors. And certainly over the last year, we've had a number of changes around safety protocols and structures, where we continue to follow through with our routine fire drills, soft lockdowns, hard lockdowns, and a safety team that's involved in all of that. We now have swipe cards in some places. The buildings have security cameras. And most importantly, we're all very attentive to making sure that all staff get regular reviews on safety protocols and procedures, that they have opportunities to get their questions answered when might be a different situation in a school with a student who might need a particular type of support in the event of a safety situation. So it's really become highlighted for us, but I think we're all feeling a lot more confident in our ability to address those things as well, based on the support we've received from the safety team, which has been quite instrumental in all of that. So I'll move on now to Goal 6 with Mrs. Chase.
Thank you. Good evening. The next goal focuses on community relations. The goal being to maintain and sustain community outreach programs. We truly value the partnerships that we have with our families, as well as the support that we receive from the Auburn community. And so we're continuously looking for ways to inform and involve all stakeholders. This slide highlights just a few of the ways we have worked to accomplish this. We have enhanced district-wide student attendance procedures. With a goal of keeping our families informed, last year Dr. Brunell appointed a committee to review, clarify, and standardize the information that we provide to families regarding their students' attendance. As a result, our procedures are now uniform across the district, are aligned with the Mass General laws that pertain to student attendance, and include a timeline of when we share the attendance data with families. Although some of us are still learning the ins and outs of social media, the Auburn Public Schools Facebook page allows us to proactively and quickly post newsworthy items to keep our families and the community updated on school happenings. Transition programs continue to be extremely important, and these are done at every level, preschool through high school. They're an important way for us to prepare not only our students, but also our families for transitions in the school careers that our students experience. One example could be the kindergarten orientation programs that we hold a week or so before school begins, where our kindergarten students are visiting our schools, meeting their teacher, touring their new classrooms, maybe even having a snack in the cafeteria and a ride on a school bus for the first time. Or it could be something like the parental informational sessions that we hold for the Auburn preschool families, whose children are probably attending school for the very first time. Another example are the third grade presentations before our students take the MCAS for the first time. We are trying to help get our children focused on the new challenges and experiences that they will face. Programs similar to this are also offered at the middle and high school as our students prepare to move on. Another outreach program is the Title I information sessions, which are held at the Auburn's Title I schools. Every fall, these sessions are designed to provide insights for parents as to what the Title I program is and how it supports the students who qualify for it. Typically, the parents and teachers sign a compact which outlines the roles and responsibilities each has. In addition, parents are provided with a packet of resources that they can use at home to support their children's learning. We continue to sponsor curriculum-based family events. The 4 elementary schools all host a family literacy night. I believe Bryn Mawr and Packagug have just had theirs, with JB and Mary D scheduled for tomorrow evening. Activities are planned by the teachers and staff that support literacy development and provide a time and a place for our families to participate in these together. Our family math night, which is held each spring, has become an annual tradition across town, with the 4 elementary schools hosting this event together. Family math night, as well as the literacy night, help provide a window into the kinds of activities and learning that our students are involved in. Our partnership with the Auburn Chamber of Commerce and other community organizations remains strong. You heard recently, a little bit earlier this evening, Dr. Brunell talk about the chamber grants that were awarded with close to $3,000. So it's extremely impressive. We continue to partner with the Auburn Fire Department, who comes in to do fire safety programs for our students. Just this week, they picked up the fire safety posters for the contest that they hold annually. And also, we partner very well, and we're thankful for that partnership with the Auburn Fire Police Department as well. So, as we set a budget, we want to prioritize what we're going to focus on, where and how we're going to spend our resources. And as an elementary team, we set the priorities for the next year as we draft our budgets to ensure that we have the necessary resources and the necessary focus to be successful. Last night, you heard Dr. Brunell, as she kicked off the budget presentation, qualify this year's proposed budget as a mission-driven budget, tied closely to opportunities for student achievement. And I think that you'll see that this is a consistent theme in our budget priorities as well. The first bullet here talks about implementing the Common Core state standards and aligning our curriculum to the grade-specific standards. This continues to be a priority of ours and a consistent focus of our work. You heard again tonight talk about the work that we're currently involved in with aligning the everyday math program to the Common Core state standards. You heard last night Dr. Lozay speak about the search for a new elementary math program and the work in the review of early literacy, as you see also bulleted at the bottom of the slide. All of these tasks will be accomplished with a careful eye to the Common Core state standards. We've heard throughout this evening and last evening as well, emphasis on analyzing data. We continue to believe that analyzing student work and assessments is critical to the success of our students. We continue to refine the process of collecting and looking at data, forming our interventions and/or challenge groups, the kinds of interventions and enrichments that we offer. And as Mrs. Lopez said, we're beginning to see our teachers really step up and take the lead on this process. Another priority that's already mentioned this evening has been the focus to maintain professional learning communities, which are alive and well at all of our schools. With the professional learning communities, teachers are learning, sharing, and working together to define and utilize best practices that ensure our students' success. Another priority for us continues to be co-teaching, which we believe is an important key to successful and supported inclusion with both a regular education teacher and a special education teacher in the classroom for all or part of the day. With both educators delivering core instruction along with specialized instruction that some students may need, teachers are able to blend their skills while allowing students to receive targeted, effective instruction. Co-teaching extends inclusion opportunities for most children, with the instruction being delivered in the least restrictive environment. Differentiated instruction, again, is a priority. You heard, again, some talk about this evening. Every student presents with different strengths, weaknesses, learning styles, experiences, and differentiation allows teachers to provide the levels of challenge and support that students need. Our daily intervention blocks that happen at all of our schools is a good example of some of the ways that we're able to differentiate. As the intermediate schools plan to merge with the building of the new middle school, we know that collaboration will be at the heart of a successful transition. And so this is something that we're conscious of and planning for as we go forward. We come to PARC, which is the acronym for Partnership for the Assessment of Readiness for College and Career, which is most likely going to be the assessment that replaces MCAS. Scheduled to be rolled out in 2014-15 in all of the states that have adopted the Common Core state standards. This spring we have 3 of our schools, Julia Bancroft, Packagug, and the Auburn Middle School, completing PARC field tests. PAC will be administering the field tests in the online version, and as we look to a new year and a new assessment that will be in place, we want to be sure that our budget reflects priorities to ensure that our students will be prepared and will do well. So with that information on the priorities and kind of the parameters of how we designed our budgets, we will move on to talk specifically about each school's budget. We will start with the Mary D. Stone School, and the lines for FY15 include principal's office supplies, $1,915. Postage, $300. Principal's professional development, $1,500. Principal's dues, $970. Classroom supplies, $22,000. Art supplies, $1,000. Printing supplies, $7,700. Staff travel, $100. Textbooks, $750. Library supplies and books, $750. Audio-visual supplies, $1,125. Guidance supplies, $500. And 504 supplies, $250.
And likewise for Bryn Mawr School, for FY15, principal office supplies at $1,645, postage at $300, principal's professional development at $4,000, Principal's dues, $970. Classroom supplies, $21,620. Art supplies, $1,000. Printing supplies, $7,850. Staff travel, $100. Textbooks, $750. Library supplies and books, $750. Audiovisual supplies, $1,125. Guidance supplies, $500. 504 supplies, $250. And we'll move to the intermediate.
For Packagug, the principal's office supplies, $1,670, postage, $300, principal's professional development, $1,500, principal's dues, $970, classroom supplies, $24,705, art supplies, $1,000, printing supplies, $8,100, staff travel, $100, textbooks, $750, library supplies and books, $750, audiovisual supplies, $1,125, guidance supplies, $500, and 504 supplies, $250.
I am Julia Bancroft, principal office supplies, $1,850. Postage, $300. Principal's professional development, $4,000. Principal's dues, $750. Classroom supplies, $29,066. Art supplies, $1,277. Printing supplies, $9,658. Staff travel, $100. Textbooks, $750. Library supplies and books, $750. Audiovisual supplies, $1,125. Guidance supplies, $500. And 504 supplies, $250. I'd like to now speak to the FY15 elementary staffing proposals. There are 6 proposals based on our priority lists. The first one speaks to the proposed change would increase the hours of all one-to-one child-specific special education instructional assistants and ABA instructional assistants. This will mirror the length of the student's day from 6.5 hours to 6.75 hours. The small increase in time will ensure adequate coverage of all students from the start of the day until the end of the day, as well as allow us to comply with IEPs to ensure safe arrival and dismissal. Our second bullet, this administration believes that there is a need for an additional grade 4 teaching position for the 2014-15 school year. Due to the consistent increase in student population, the incoming grade 3 class will contain 98+ students. This will require maintaining a grade 3 position and the hiring of an additional 4th grade teacher, as there are currently 106 third graders slated for the 2014-15 school year. This request will ensure that the learning needs of the current 106 grade 3 students are not compromised due to overcrowding during the 14-15 school year. Our third request is currently at Bryn Mawr School, we have a severe special needs special education and moderate needs inclusion special educator. Having one inclusion teacher has limited the degree to which we're able to implement the co-teaching model, which is one of our focuses. The increase in inclusion time for the special education students as well. An addition of a special education inclusion teacher will provide the staff necessary to increase the inclusion time of special education students in the regular classroom. It will also support the co-teaching initiative, as well as provide equity between the primary and the intermediate special education teachers. Next, Mary D. Stone School is seeking to add 2 special needs instructional assistants. Currently, we have one inclusion IA who needs to split time among 3 grade levels. Each instructional assistant would be assigned to each will be assigned as an inclusion assistant per grade level, supporting the district's commitment to the inclusion model. These IA positions would help to deliver specialized instruction within the inclusion classroom. In addition, these positions would also help deliver small group instruction, reteaching interventions, further sustaining the co-teaching model and our RTI. Next, Packagug, as well as Mary D. Stone, would like to increase the art teacher position from the 0.8 to a 1 full-time employee. I think it was spoken to briefly earlier. This position would continue to be split between Mary D. Stone School and Packagug. It would allow each school to have the art teacher 50% of the time. This additional time would allow us to offer art therapy to students with special needs and to schedule art classes for all students in a way that logically supports the academic schedule. It's a small amount of additional time that would allow the art teacher to become more fully involved with integrating visual arts into the core curriculum, as well as becoming a more active participant within the school. Also, this would provide equity in the amount of art staffing between District 1 and District 2. And finally, our last request is to support the instructional needs of our preschool students that are entering Bryn Mawr and Mary D. Stone School. The one-to-one IA and ABAs will address the IEPs of the students therein. And I think at this time we're ready for questions.
Any questions at this time?
I'm not sure if I want to wait till the end. We're going to hear from middle school and high school first, and maybe ask a few questions at the very end. Okay.
I would
Prefer to go now?
to do the elementary schools now. Is that okay?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Just let me explain to you that I am a big data person. That's what I do for work. So I tend to take a lot of data and I look at it and I figure out how to map something to, with data to successfully reach a goal. So I'm very interested in what you had to talk about with the interaction between the students and the teachers when they were using the technology, and that they can answer a question and that data becomes available right away to that teacher, which to me is extremely exciting, because I'm assuming then that the teacher knows right away when students in the classroom really aren't getting a concept. So am I correct in saying that?
I think you're speaking to Socrative.
Yes.
Which is basically a teacher, if you want to speak to it too, a teacher-made assessment. So whatever you're working on at that time, it can be used as a formative assessment. The teacher can plug in 10 questions, simplistic questions. Typically it's multiple choice. The students go on, read the questions, select from the answers. It probably takes maximum 10 minutes, and those answers are then directly related to the teacher's iPad or whatever they're using as their data collection piece, their laptop or so forth.
So to me, that kind of information is so important, and I'm assuming, and I think I asked this question of Dr. Bernal before, we can use data to figure out information about who are using the data, the technology, correct? So that pertains to students, and it also pertains to teachers. So my question is, as we're putting so much money into the technology, are we making sure that our teachers have the professional development and are able to use this technology equally, if you will, throughout the grade? So if one teacher in 4th grade is using these tools that seem to be so wonderful and are really going to enhance the classroom in so many ways, not only in teaching but assessing if the children know what is going on, are there ways that we're looking to see if the teachers are actually sort of using it the same way across the board?
I can speak to what's happening at Packagug, and others may want to stand up and speak to what's happening in their buildings. We have had Eric come over to us last year when we first started finding out about Socrative, I think it was just last year, and working with the iPads as an instruction after school with the staff. Then we have in-house people who use it regularly, and they become an in-house resource for others who, want a little refresher. And anytime more people get on board and want something, we just contact Eric and set up a time, and he's there for a faculty meeting to give people a refresher in how to set this up and move forward.
Okay, with all due respect, that doesn't answer my question.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
I thought
My
that's all it was.
question is there a way that the principals are assessing whether or not teachers are using these tools that we're putting so much money into? Are the teachers actually using them, and are they using them not only to teach, but to assess what's going on in the classroom and the understanding of the material?
Oh, okay. It is part of the ed evaluation model that we look to see what type of technology is being used, how how individuals are assessing their students. So that is part of the, that piece. I know that when something is going on in the building, and I will ask them, please invite me so I can see that happening, and I do get those invites. Sometimes I just happen to randomly, happen upon it. I was in a 4th grade classroom, and it just happened to be that that's how she was giving her science assessment, so that everybody had their app pulled up and the science assessment was put on there. So sometimes it's by chance that I see it. Other times it's invite, and we record it on the EdEval for that. And I'm hoping I'm still answering your
And
question.
you are,
Okay.
and I wasn't trying to be rude, and I apologize
That's
if I
fine.
was. So maybe Mr. Bouvier is better to answer my question, and unfortunately, he's not here, but to me, it seems like there would be a way for principals to know whether or not their teachers are using this technology just for the fact that.
Right.
that
With the Socrative, it's an app.
No, I'm not just talking about
Okay.
that, but I'm talking about technology in general. If somebody is.
How often it gets out into the
Yeah,
classroom and
would-
into the students'
I would think
hands.
there is a way for you to know whether
To
or not
log
they're
that.
using it based on data coming into the system, rather than you just happening to see
Unlock the use.
see
We can all-
somebody
we can
using
all
it.
speak to A few things. One, in terms of lesson plans that we all receive, you can see that usually identified in the lesson plan. Also with the walkthroughs, and I think that's what Mrs. Kozik was speaking to. That's one of the pieces. But in terms of the frequency and the data collection of it, I presume that, or I shouldn't presume, but a log of when teachers check things in and out, that's also a way to kind of note that, but that's not electronic. That would be a paper pencil, check the log, who's taking out what or signing up for what type of technology.
So
If it's
there's
a handheld piece, like a laptop or an iPad.
Okay. So not every teacher has their own laptop, and then you can kind of assess from that. Okay, all right.
I do think, though, Eric did a training for me. I've pushed Google Docs in my building for data sharing. So any assessments teachers do, we can both access that document, so I can see how the math assessment went, or whatever that was. But also through Google, I think it's called Google Forms, which you can set up a survey, and I can access those results. So that's a way, and that's in the infancy stages with us as far as using it, but I can see who's used it, what they've used, what the results are. And I suspect that probably through Socrative, there's a way to look at that, right? For them to get in and see how the students did. So some of those assessment pieces are just coming with us, but there are ways to tap in to see who's done what and where. And I also know that we've used our faculty meetings. At this point, it's a sharing of best practices, right? So what we try to encourage is someone to say, I used this assessment, look what I got, this was great. Or this one didn't work so well. So it's kind of a teasing out time right now, but there are ways for us to take a look at that and then to begin to push the really good things forward.
Sure. And unfortunately, I'm taking time away, but as we're pouring so much money into this, I just want to make sure we're getting the most out of it. And so that's why I'm asking the questions, so that I'm sure that we're putting the money where it's best to be used. So thank you for indulging me on that one.
Through the chair, if I understand Liz correctly, I think you're looking for direct evidence, whether it's online through the computer or an actual printout of some of these tests, quizzes, it's just something, and across the board, so that there's equity across the board, so that 3 out of the 4 second grade classes aren't on top of this, and one of them
Exactly.
really not taking part much at all, maybe checking out this equipment out of media, and maybe doing a lesson, maybe not doing a lesson, maybe kind of playing around with it and trying to get up to speed. The teacher herself or himself could be trying to get up to speed, and really the student not getting the technology training and not getting the technological assessment that Liz is speaking to. So I think she's looking for some direct evidence perhaps, and maybe we're not there yet, maybe we could be there.
Sure. So a couple of responses on that. We actually have looked at software usage, and in fact, that has driven some decisions. we were able to go on and Study Island, for example, to see how often it was being used in classrooms by students down to the minute. And if it was not being used effectively, we then looked at the cost of it and made some decisions that we don't support those any longer. I think, too, the other piece for us to remember, and this goes, I think, for learning just in general, every one of us starts at a very different beginning point. And I think that's fair to say with technology. Some of us are far more comfortable with it than others. But I think, you know, through the classroom walkthroughs, my expectation is just what yours is, as is theirs. If we're providing these tools for teachers to use, we want them to be effectively used. And I think it's a multi-layered approach with Mr. Bouvier providing training, with teacher experts, and some naturally rise to the top. They're just whizzes at technology. So highlighting those best practices, and then someone gets a good idea, borrows that idea, and brings it back to their classroom. But the most important thing is what our principals are doing in classrooms every day. They walk in classrooms, and if they're noticing that a classroom's Epson Brightlink is not on and is not being integrated into the classroom, or they're not using the iPads or the laptops, their job, one of their responsibilities, is to be sure that there is, because we want to provide, to the degree we can, consistency in our programming for students. It will never be exact, but it's a multi-layered approach that really starts with the principals. And I will tell you, and you'll see if we do walkthroughs later this year, our teachers are embracing the technology. The biggest problem we have is there's not enough of it. As Mrs. Kozik said, we've got an iPad cart at each of the elementary schools. When you have 12 or 14 classrooms, that's a real challenge because it's a scheduling nightmare in terms of getting it and using it and things. So it really isn't that it's not being integrated enough. I think the issue is, and I'm happy about this, teachers are starting to clamor about the fact we need more, and we need it hands-on so that we're ready to use it on-the-spot learning.
Go ahead, Liz.
And I guess then that would lead to the next point, that if you have some teachers that are very comfortable with it and some teachers that are not, and I've got 2 points to make here. First of all, you could have a teacher who constantly is taking those
Sure.
the carts out and then using them and not making it available for other teachers that are not as comfortable for it. So I think it's the school committee's responsibility to make sure that we are providing enough professional development for all the teachers so that we can get them up to speed quickly and make them feel comfortable doing this in their classroom. What I heard this evening was so exciting, that the benefits, and I realize technology is not the most important thing to enter into a classroom, but to be able to assess right then and there that a student is not grasping a concept, to me is invaluable. I don't know, maybe you don't agree with me, but
I do agree
I
with
feel
you.
that
Absolutely agree.
I feel that, you know, the teacher then can spend more time on the concept that's not being understood. So, again, I will be focusing on professional development and making sure that our teachers with technology are really being kept up to speed. And so that's one thing that I'll be looking at throughout this process. When it comes to your facilities, and you talked about safety, does every student in your buildings, do they know what to do in an emergency? And I'm going to give an example. If a child is in a classroom, everybody knows that you're supposed to, you know, the door gets locked and blah, blah, blah. But does a child understand that if they happen to not be in the classroom at the time an emergency takes place, what he or she is supposed to do? Are all those things covered, and every student feels comfortable, and every principal feels comfortable that their students are well aware of what to do?
That's talked about with our students and with our staff, right? Because yes, if there's a hard lockdown, they're closing those doors, but everybody's taking a peek in the hallway and grabbing whoever's there. So there's a whole protocol for all that, and the safety team has just been tremendous about walking us through all of that.
Okay, and then I think my last question is, yes, it is my last question. The community relations, are you finding that parents are coming to those and they're well attended? So those are well worth having, and I'm assuming they don't cost a lot of money to do these, so, all right, thanks very much.
Through the chair. Dr. Brunel, since you're up there.
Okay, okay.
My question pertains to the retail training. Is that part of how much of this year's or the 2015 professional development line does that take up?
It takes up $0 of it, quite honestly, because the state has made a commitment that within 3 years' time, they will be providing a free opportunity for training for every core academic educator, and they've defined who that is out of all of our educators. So we, through Dr. Lozay, we had the forward thinking to train a staff member in district who got the DESE training and is providing some in-house for us. We have very little control right now. In fact, we have no control, I would say, other than the space that we'll provide on the order in which those teachers will go in. Well, let me back up. So of all the teachers who need to do it, we have the 3 years. If they have an ELL in their class, we have to assign them, and they have to accept the offer. Otherwise, it's their responsibility to do it at their own cost. DESE, we had called last year and said, we've got an in-house trainer, we want to provide this to our teachers, because we have a lot of teachers who want to participate and not all are able to yet this first year. And said we'd be willing to bear the cost of it and offer it on a Saturday, assuming the instructor was available and we knew that she was. DESE won't allow us to schedule those. DESE is doing all of the scheduling for that right now. And the teacher that we trained is being paid by DESE to offer that training. It includes some Auburn teachers, but also some from neighboring communities as well. So we are not yet budgeting money for retail. It's a DESE offer, and their commitment is free.
Really? Well, that's great. That was going to be my suggestion. I didn't realize that we had someone trained.
We do. It was quite a intensive process for her to be accepted through that, and I think that DESE is realizing now that they don't have anywhere near the number of staff that it will be required in order to train every core academic teacher in 3 years' time. So they may be rethinking their strategy, but right now that's their commitment, is to provide it for free.
Well, please thank that teacher for going ahead and getting that training. We appreciate it.
Superintendent, do you feel comfortable, does all your team feel comfortable with the money we have out for training in the budget? Or at this time, do you feel comfortable with it?
In terms of professional development overall?
Yes.
I think that we feel very comfortable with what's been allotted for that. Dr. Lozay had outlined a number of areas last night, the keys to literacy. We have some mandated trainings that we have to provide, anti-bullying that we always do, technology training. So I think that we feel comfortable, and the co-teaching obviously is a huge initiative in inclusion, comfortable, but I don't want to speak for everybody, I don't know. Yes, okay.
Okay. Yeah, the other thing I'd like to say is, board members, is thank you for your questions, and they were good questions. And Liz, don't ever hesitate to take more time, because that's what we're here for.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
So we'll turn it over to Mr. Gagnon and Mr. Giordano.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Take a 7th inning stretch right now, and we're ready to go. Very successful year for our Red Sox. We're all very happy for them. Auburn Public Schools, myself and Mr. Giordano are going to talk to how we're going to strengthen our rigor, relation, and relevance in our students. Again, the APS team, we talked about this quite a bit a few years back. We spent a whole afternoon talking about what our core values were, and those core values have been sustainable. And a lot what I'm going to talk about to you tonight is sustainability. That over the last 3 to 5 years, we've had great sustainability within the district, and that's what we're going to talk about. Our goals for the middle school is to increase rigor for all students, open communication, and a shared vision. The APS team, we talked to you about a STEM grant that we had a couple of years ago that we put in for, very competitive, and that with some people that had written that grant, we were able to secure some monies for the district, both for professional development, for materials, and we were able to start some programs. STEM has now become STEAM, and STEAM now involves the arts as well. And we have a young lady now that works for us in our arts department that is coming up, and she's going and using the engineering technology and computer technology and the science method to come up with an art method, and she's testing this out in a local college, and we hope to see her get published on that soon. It's very interesting. She used an iMovie clip with her iPad, and has got that up on a YouTube right now for other teachers to look at, how she's using what she calls the art process, and how you go from design on paper to actual application as you produce your artwork. And we're looking hopefully in the future for to have that published. We have our Young Engineers Club, which meets once a week on Thursdays. We had a summer camp this last summer for young engineers. There were 45 students in grades 6th, 7th, and a few in 8th that participated in a week-long program exploring STEM opportunities, modeled much after what we have in one of our local colleges. The Math 2 Pittsco interactive models, all of those materials came in. There were quite a few that we were able to secure. So on Fridays now, we've expanded that to other days, that those Math 2 students get an opportunity to look at math in a concrete method, utilizing models. Lego Robotics meets once a week after school, applying those same concepts of engineering design. Our engineering technology has been with us for 5 years now, and computer technology combined with the art. Again, we said we want to challenge in the rigor for all students. So our virtual high school, 2 years ago, we met with Mr. Bouvier, and we talked about increasing some seats for our students at Auburn Middle School for grade 8 students we thought were capable of achieving high school academics. Most of our students sign up for either creative writing, and there's some other offerings here. We've had a few that have done the teenage brain, and we're looking to secure more seats for those individuals to challenge those advanced students in another level. So what they end up doing is these are very busy students. This is done online, all online after school. They never meet together in a classroom atmosphere with their classmates, which are all over Massachusetts, but they do meet once a week with a mentor that makes sure that they're staying current on what they need to do. It's very rigorous what they have to complete. The syllabi for these are they might look, where you're looking at the World War II, Three Eyes of Dr. Seuss, but yet the workload, they say, is between 1 and 2 hours a night of homework online, and they're able to keep up. Our Great Books continue. I believe we're in our 5th year now for Great Books, and these are some of the titles that these students as well look at. We expanded our Great Book to include some 7th graders who are advanced, a great deal of 8th graders. We're up to over 24. They meet with their advisors. There are 2 advisors. This is all done online as well after school. But during their lunch, our 2 advisors take time off during their lunch block once a month, and they meet with the students and they discuss in face-to-face meetings the books that they're reading. A great deal of this is also done online. This is an online course. You read the book either through an e-book or a hardcover book that we purchase through our library, and then they discuss those books. And it's interesting because I'm able to actually, I get those conversations as well, to be able to overarching look at what they're talking about. We've heard a great deal about keys to literacy, which will be coming down as we go down. Co-teaching model. We're in our 2nd year for co-teaching, which Dr. Lozay had come and talked to me about with our current special ed director at that time. We've increased our inclusionary classes now where we have very, very little pull-out. The content teacher is in there along with our special educators, co-teaching classes. The professional development, we talked earlier about whether we have that professional development. Here's where a lot of that professional development goes. We take our teachers, we're going to be coming up on another model where we'll take between 8 and 10 of our teachers out of the classroom for one day. They'll have professional development that day and co-teaching strategies. These strategies are being put into place. We see those through our walkthroughs where we used to see occasionally, traditional rows. And now we see a lot more quads and tries of students working together, a lot of word walls, a great deal of not only the special educator, but the content teacher, where one can step in and the other can step out, in sentences. They really grasped onto this because we have 2 really good instructors for that for the PED. That's also followed up by a coaching aspect. We have these 2 coaches come back. They go and they observe the teachers putting into practice what they've been taught in the PED. Then they have conferencing later in the day where they talk about the pluses and minuses of what they saw that happened within that classroom. But it's purely a coaching environment. It's not part of their evaluation. The pre-AP strategies, we have 3 chairs at our school for math, ELA, and science. It's a district-wide effort. We're having our pre-AP strategies. This started 3 years ago, starting out with math and ELA, and science has been introduced last year. Keys to literacy, we've heard a great deal about that. And the consistency within the district. It starts in the elementaries and continues up through the middle school. Keys to RRQ has been introduced for all of our core teachers. Keys to comprehension, they've also had that training. We were the first to have it. And keys to vocabulary. Now we're moving on to Bloom's taxonomy. Our ELA teachers have already had this training, and now we're going to have our other core content teachers go through this training. Currently, I'm confident to say that our students can go all the way up through application in Bloom's, but we need them to get to the analysis, the synthesis, and evaluation, where that becomes part of every day. And it plays a lot into STEM, and also plays a lot into those standardized tests, like MCAS in part, where they expect you not only to do the work, but to explain how you did the work, and how then you can apply it to other work. We're going to be seeing that training coming up in the next few weeks. For our evaluation walkthroughs, the evaluation system I know we've talked a great deal about. It's really come down to a formalized scheduling, where in my calendar I'll know I have to do 3 walkthroughs in the morning and have either 3 follow-up conversations with those individuals later that day or the next day. So there's 250. I have 25 individuals that I am currently supervising, and Mr. Giordano has 25 individuals he supervises. 250 walkthroughs total, 250 meetings after for conversations. And along the way there are, if you're a first-year teacher, there's a formal observation that goes for a whole class period, as well as intermittent stops in January and then at the end of the year for a summative evaluation. Those people on 2-year cycles, we have that stop at the end of May. We have a conversation in regards of their goals and their goal setting and what they've accomplished. Their collection of evidence. A lot of the responsibility is put onto the teachers for collection of evidence. And they're getting quite good at it. They're very organized. They're utilizing technology a great deal, where they'll take a quick snapshot of either a conversation they had with a parent online or an event that they went to, a dance, that's school community relations. They'll send it to me in an email. I'll take it and put it in a folder. So we come to those intermittent stops, we can take those and look at those and then put them onto their evaluation. Summer Summit 3 with the curriculum coordinators. This is our 3rd summer where we've met and planned, talking about strategic plan, how we're going to apply it to our school for the upcoming year, anything new that's happening for the upcoming year. It's a nice event that we have, and we've done that every August, where these teachers, there's a core of 10 to 12 that come out, guidance counselors, and then we have a conversation that lasts for several hours, and they volunteer for that, to come out for that, which is very nice. We continue to have partnerships with the Chamber of Commerce. You heard about the competitive chamber awards where many of our schools were recipients. Auburn Youth and Family Service continues to partner with us. They're a great organization. We have a young man who comes to our building. He tutors on Wednesdays for the entire day for those students that are part of that AYFS network. Secondary and elementary vertical meetings. We've already had our first secondary meeting, myself and Mr. Hanfield, and we'll be having our elementary meetings coming up within the month. We still maintain a partnership. We were one of the first schools in the area to have that partnership. We have 2 alumni in 7th grade that are alum of WPI. With the assessment software and support, this is a free program for us, and will continue to be. And as they develop, they send interns to us, and we talk about what do we need in terms of modulars. What I really like about this program, as opposed to a study island online, is that there are no games. This is strictly, it's self-monitoring. A student does 3 problems that are like problems. If they're successful, then they go on to a different set of problems. If they're not successful, it goes into remediation mode. It shows them, what they should be doing. Then they go on, they have to complete. It may take them longer, but they have to complete 3 successful problems before they go on to the next module. So it's a well-written program, but WPI speaks to that. Grace Acala. Grace Acala is going to be coming in for a TED event. And you say to yourself, well, what is a TED event? I'm not going to go to the link. Well, this Friday, Ms. Cannell competed for a TED event, and if you've never been on a TED site, it's just spelled just that way, do a search with TED. They're inspirational, educational, and informational speaks. And it's very controlled. This will be an audience of only 100 maximum. We have to advertise. These are our speakers. We have a high school speaker, Ms. Wheeler. I know you know Ms. Wheeler. She's won many writing awards. She's coming in to speak. Mr. Todd Stewart runs a private, not-for-profit summer camp. Ms. Bedard and Grace Acalo, who we talked about here. Then our students, the ones that are here, there's 6, I believe, that competed for spots from both teams in order to speak. They had to write what they were going to say for their speech, and then competitively challenged to be the 6 speakers at this event. We also had great cooperation from Principal Hanfield, where he allowed 2 of his students to come down and coach our students on public speaking. These students have never spoken in front of an audience of 100, let alone 30. So they're a little nervous. This is a taped event. It's competitive. It could go national and international if it's put on the TED site. So it's a big deal for us. We're very proud that she won this grant. That's it for my commercial for our TED event for Friday. PBIS is in our 5th year. That's one of our anti-bullying. And it's a great way of having an anti-bullying program, because it's all about the positive. We use SOAR dollars in our building, which students can then cash in for either homework passes, which are rare, but more our school store and events that we take students to. And I've got to say, most of the events are educational events. We have one coming up that we listen to it's either the Navy or the Air Force band. It changes every year. And the students, especially the band students, it's very competitive to get to go on that trip. We take 50 students, first come, first serve. I believe they're asking for 30 SOAR dollars to get into this event. And then, of course, teachers worry about, well, are they trading, or are they bartering? And so that's all part of life. That's all part of life. If they trade and barter to get their SOAR dollars so they can go on the trip, that's all well and good. Our check-in, check-out are for our most needy students who need that few minutes in the morning to make sure that they're going to get off to their day in the right foot, especially if they had a rough day the day before. So do you have your pencil? Do you have your pen? Do you have your homework? Do you have all your books? What do you need? Do you need a pencil? We'll give you a pencil. If that's what you need to complete your day. They also do a checkout at the end of the day to make sure that they have those things when they go home. Grade system, that's what we call a Tier 2. So Tier 1, most of our students on, about 95%. The Tier 2 are those students that either have behavioral issues or not doing homework, which is a behavior, that they are put in a check-in, check-out. And then the Level 3, which usually we show the triangle, the Level 3 is a very small percentage in the red, which is usually 5 or more offenses that a student have, either disciplinary infractions or infractions of an academic nature. Still a very small percentage. Anti-bullying prevention measures, we talked about this last time we were here. We had some questions on that. We are actually in year 3 of our summer reading. The summer reading, the One Book, One School, I started 3 years ago. I read about an article that was in the Cape Codder, and I said, we can do this with the support of the district and the support of our superintendent. And every year we pick a title that has to do with anti-bullying. School is actually a title that is an older title. Our faculty chooses the title to get 50 to 55 people to agree on a book. Not easy. And it's 3 levels that we're going to be approaching. So it has to be a book that is a challenge for our 6th graders, but not seen by our 8th graders as reading down. And then when we talk about it, when we come back in the fall, the expectation is everyone in our building reads this book. We give a copy to the custodians, we give a copy to our secretaries. Everyone, the expectation to read this book. And we have events when they come back in terms of what the theme is of the book. We had 2, we incorporated with school relationships with our booster club, which is called ART. So we're going to give you the first 2 dances. They're usually the most successful to help you get those dollars that you need to help sponsor us in events. But we went to school, and in school they had a dance. It's kind of like a throwback to the 1960s, 70s, a grandma who's a hippie who lives on this commune, and they have a dance as the theme of the book. So we had a dance that was more of a hippie 60s type dance for both the 6th and 7th graders, and the kids dressed up, and it was a great time. So we continue those themes, and in the classrooms themselves, the teachers have their own lessons that it's required that when they come back, that they make sure that the students read the book and they get the theme. We continue to have high interest assemblies. Beginning of the school year, Mr. Giordano does a great job of talking to the students about what expectations are in our building, and that if you don't meet those expectations, what will happen in terms of progressive discipline. And he does a great job at that with counseling with students and making sure that they understand this is going to be a safe place for everyone. An anti-bullying survey, we continue to have those. Camfield Productions. Since I've become an administrator, I've had Camfield Productions come to every building I've been in. It's what speaks to students. It's a multimedia show. Kyle, you were there, probably one of the first ones that we had. It's fast-moving, it's always thematic, in a positive fashion. It's very loud, but it's a great show, and it's a great price for what they give you. And I've had this 10 years now in the buildings that I've been in. We continue to go forward with that. In fact, Kyle and I had a conversation after the last time we left, and I said, Kyle, let's talk about bullying and your experience when we were there. We continue to have that conversation, and, we always invite for our commencement the valedictorian of the high school, because kids talking to kids, that's who they listen to. I'll talk about a new position that we were looking at last year. We decided to defer to this coming year, FY15. So in preparation for the new middle school and the continuation of building the current media center to a thriving hub of student literacy, we're requesting a 1.1 full-time employee for the media iPad integration specialist. I don't know if we're going to be able to fit that on the door for the FY15 budget year. The integration project will continue to grow the circulation of hardcover books in the current library and prepare research on the possible conversion of future titles to ebooks relative to the cost and usability. So ebooks are a great resource, but you have to have something to read that ebook with. The high school currently has, I believe, 900 titles that are available to us because we both use the same Follett system. They had the Follett system. We expanded their system so we could utilize it. Those are available to students right now. And when you get the iPad, there are apps on an iPad that bring you to many, many great titles that are free at no cost, and the app is no cost. So we're looking to expand that, but we're also looking to be smart about our expansion. Hardcover books do have their worth, and a lot of people prefer the hardcover to read, and the usability of the hardcover as opposed to an ebook. Because an ebook, because we're an institution, you can only buy a one-to-one ebook, where if you are an individual, you can buy an ebook and share with 5 people to 6 people. So we've got to look at that cost. Even though the ebooks are a lot less expensive, like an ebook's around $5, and you can get a permabound for about $15 to $25. What is going to be the cost differential of having to get an ebook over the next 5 years as opposed to the hardcover that'll last about 5 years? Well, there's going to be some data on that, so be smart when we go forward and spend. But the other thing we've got to be careful of is what you're not going to see in the data for expenditure is we have to really look at our circulations. We have to get some ebooks in there. The iPads that are coming on, we're going to see how much they read through those iPads, because having hardcover books, even though they may last longer, if that's not the media kids are choosing and they're collecting dust on the shelves, then we didn't spend our money wisely. And that's what we want to do. We want to research and look at it. We actually have an overarching software that we can see what everybody is doing with their iPad. Because it's keyed, right now it's 4 people who own the same iPad during the course of our day, 4 students. So it's 4 individuals that we can watch. We can't distinguish which one of the 4 is doing what and where for data. But once we get to that one-to-one, each iPad has its own unique signature. So you can tell what sites the student's gone to, how much work they've done. You can tell, to your question about what if teachers are utilizing and how much, we'll be able to tell that just by looking at the usage of their students. But you can't really do that until you get to that one-to-one individual IP address. And we're there. We had a very small incident with one of the iPads. Within an hour, we narrowed it down to the 4 students, found the 1 student, had a conversation about safe usage and what to do within an hour. So it's very useful. We need this person here to not only do this. This person is going to be super person because the expectations are high what they're going to be able to do. They're going to be able to be an expert in the Big 6 research methodology. They're going to co-teach classes, not just teach in theory Big 6, but get into those classes, the ELA, the social studies and science teachers, and help them utilize that in their research tool. A lot will have to do with teaching classes on internet safety, developing a virtual high school and middle school program, the Gizmo software, which you secured through the STEM grant, to become an expert on that and help those teachers utilize it more. We also want that person to be an expert in one-to-one technology, because we're going to have a building, hopefully in the future, that we will be able to support with infrastructure 560 student one-to-one devices and over 55 plus teacher devices. Over 600 devices, you just got to think of in terms of, you had 600 cars, you know, on a daily basis, you're going to have one or two of them that's going to have a problem that needs to be tweaked so it doesn't become a huge problem. And that's what we want that person to be able to do. Become an expert on that, have that ability to, the computer networking, that overarching software to make sure everybody's going where they're supposed to be going, and web design, so we can beef up our website. We could talk to you about iPads all day. We love what they do. 4 of our teachers are content experts. The way we looked at it, we had some great support, again, from Dr. Brunel and Dr. Lozay. We brought in this company called EdTech, and I didn't talk enough about that when we were looking at that. And they came in, and overwhelmingly, our teachers said the best PD that they had had in regards to the iPad. So we're looking, when we go to the 200 next year for the 8th grade, those teachers, we were to put iPads in their hands last year, around April. We're looking as soon as possible to put in our 7th grade teachers 10 iPads, 1 each. Get them the EdTech PD. Our 8th grade teachers are already experts on 4 of our most well-used applications, iMovie, Socrative, Educreations, and Keynote. And they're going to go and they're going to spread that knowledge to those 7th grade teachers as well. So when we get to the budgetary money issues, in terms of principal supplies, slight increase, postage. That's actually the same as last year, but a decrease from the year before. We took a look at our meter, and our meter says that we don't need to have, you know, currently $3,000 in our budget, so we reduced it to $1,500. Professional development for principal and assistant principal, $3,000. Principal's dues stayed the same. We had classroom supplies, where we took a decrease in classroom supplies this year, and we're on a zero-based budget. We really have right now, you know, went to the teachers several times. I looked again before I came out tonight, where math last year, we had some consumables that we purchased that we're still using. Science, you know, you can buy some beakers and test tubes. We really beefed that up last year. That's good for a number of years until breakage happens. So the teachers feel comfortable. We had several conversations about that. Art supplies, slight increase. Printing supplies, slight increase. We went this year where we took almost all of the printers out of the classrooms, and we're solely printing now to 4 of our copying machines that have that capability. And it's working out very nicely. They're very reliable. We still have some isolated standalone printers, but we're looking as we go along. We use up the toner. We're being very smart about this. The toner we have in stock, we're going to utilize with those printers, and as those printers become obsolete, switch to others and use up that toner. So we have a slight increase. I think that'll go down possibly next year. And then staff supply went up slightly because our teachers last year did a lot of professional development in the summer as well, where they went out. Textbooks. These textbooks right now, these are just replacements for damaged textbooks across the 4 curriculum and for some expansion in class size that we had for having enough classroom textbooks in the class. Commencement, very slight increase. Incentive as an award stayed the same. Our library supplies, like I spoke to, we're really looking to explore the e-books. We're asking for an increase in our library supplies. Audio visuals, again, most of the audiovisual increase speaks to replacement parts for the Epsons. We want to make sure that we have the bulbs that are necessary. Without the bulb, just like the old overhead projectors, it doesn't work. So we want to make sure we have those Epson bulbs in stock so we can replace them. Guidance supplies, we had a decrease because we had a shift in the Ready Step was given at the 8th grade for the last 2 years in the fall. That's going to shift to be a high school test right now. So that'll be in the high school budget for guidance supplies. That was an $1,800 line item. And 504 supplies have remained the same. Mr. Fahey could speak to these items in terms of our fuel, electrical, custodial supplies. And to finish off, Albert Einstein is a very popular person tonight. I saw one other quote. Learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow. The important thing is not to start questioning. I think Ms. Gibbons, I thought of that when I thought of you.
No.
Getting angry.
I say that with the most deepest respect. Any questions?
We knew it.
No,
Go
I
ahead,
just
Les.
want to
Go
know
ahead.
what the book was that the entire school read this year.
It was schooled.
It was schooled. Oh, I
It was
thought you had
schooled.
said that was an older
No,
one.
the year before, 2 years ago was, I want to say Jeremy Fink, and
I think the
Yeah.
school committee should have to read this.
I have extra copies. It's a great book. It is a great read, an easy read. It's
I'll
a
come
great
by
read.
and get it. That really, it was a great presentation, and not that
Yes, it was
the
very
others
good.
didn't have a great presentation, I just don't have any questions.
George?
Yep. That was a great presentation. I just hope that the new media specialists, you don't share the whole job description with them because they may not want to do it. And I'm sure you have more planned for them,
I'm very demanding,
I guess.
yes.
I have one question,
Certainly.
and it pretty much covers all of the presentations. The principal's dues, what is the dues for? And I noticed one of them actually went down $100 at JB, and I was just curious what,
Well, it does a few things. It gives you that professional association where, some of the professional development we go to, you can get for a lesser value. So if as a middle school, we belong to a couple of affiliations that get our people in at a group rate, which is a lesser group rate. It's also, part of that is, with that, you get an insurance policy, a very small one, that comes along with any professional dues and associations. So it's good for us to carry that. It's
Okay.
pretty standard that we carry that. We have no protection, for gross negligence, say. Not that any of us would ever be grossly negligent, but then I'd like to stay living where I'm living now, and that's what helps out.
okay, I
But
just had no idea.
That's
what-
just a minor part of it. Really, it's for those, trade journals that we get and that affiliation, with colleagues.
Okay, thank you.
Did I hit that right for everyone? Yeah? All right, I want to speak for you. Good.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So the final presentation, before I do a summation, is from Mr. Hanfield and Ms. Donahue from the high school.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you for sitting through our presentations tonight. We do appreciate it. Auburn High School, 2015. As I said last year, and I'll say it again this year, honoring our past while embracing our future. 1935, I was remarking to my son, actually, who asked how long Auburn High School had been in existence, and we just got to talking about the history of Auburn High School, et cetera. So a lot of tradition and a lot of pride in our high school. We've heard a lot tonight from my colleagues about what's going on in their buildings, and I could echo a lot of the same sentiments. Just quickly on the left-hand side, rigorous core curriculum, working with our students this year on understanding dense text, critical writing, STEM programming that Mr. Gagnon alluded to. The MIMSI program, the Massachusetts Math Science Initiative. Last year we were 247 students, this year we're 386, and we expect that to grow across our student body when we start doing registrations in February. We're doing our benchmark assessments. We're working to close our achievement gap. The co-teaching model is going strong at AHS. The focus on post-secondary education, opportunities for four-year college, the importance of SATs, all of this being done in a positive, safe school climate. Several bullying initiatives that we've talked to you about in the past, and a new initiative that we're in the middle of putting together now. Hopefully will launch next year, is a freshman academy at the high school. In my research for this, some quotes that I pulled, and it really speaks to what Mrs. Chase had said earlier around the importance of transition from school to school. Auburn, going from middle school to high school is a huge transition, and although we're doing things to kind of help students ease that transition, I think there's more that can be done, and I think this is the year that we're going to do that. Just some quotes here. Grade 9 is a time when the cognitive, emotional, and physical are all coming together for our students. That's from John Zaff out of Tufts University. Students are experiencing the usual adolescent angst and depending on underdeveloped decision-making skills as they transition into this world called high school. Mr. Gagnon alluded to Bloom's taxonomy and getting the students to the very highest levels. And many of our students just cognitively aren't there yet. And we need to help get them there through 8 and through grade 9. Some students get there earlier, some students get there later. Students who underperform in grade 9 are the most likely to struggle throughout high school and as well into their adult lives. And that's from the National High School Center report. And then the academic, social, and self-regulation skills set the foundation for successful high school career and beyond. And that's from a program called Everyone Graduates out of Johns Hopkins University. For us, there'll be 3 pieces to this, and again, this is a frame right now. I am certain that I'll be able to speak in much more depth and detail to you in February when I come to talk to you about our program of studies. But the academic focus of our freshman academy will be obviously the core grade 9 curriculum, the actual learning of 21st century skills, what they are, and how do we employ them. As I've been thinking about 21st century skills and that whole idea across buildings, we launch into all of these different things, but I wonder how much our kids actually truly understand what they are. And that's something that's going to be a cornerstone of the academy. The creation of a hybrid classroom environment, and this ties into the one-to-one iPad initiative. Getting our kids to start to get used to the idea of schooling online. Both, in this case it'd be a hybrid environment because they'll be using the faculty that we'll have in place, as well as the iPad and the technology that are set up for the teachers, through the teachers, getting them ready for that going forward. That's a huge skill that they need to understand. The key skills focus that we'll have, understanding dense text, being able to read through a variety of mediums, technical writing skills, kind of a boot camp, if you will. Understanding a scientific lab report, what that looks like, what are the intricacies of that. What does it mean to write an MLA format in English? What does it mean to write an APA format in social studies? How do you respond appropriately to an ORQ or an FRQ or a DBQ in different subject areas? The ability to organize and manage time and develop good study strategies. Test preparation, note-taking instruction, and assignment completion. All things that I think sometimes we take for granted, but what struck me in particular about this, and this was totally by happenstance, I had a senior ask me, next year I'm going to be in college and I'm going to have to take notes. How do I take notes? And I didn't really have a good answer because I was just struck by the question. And so it just really, again, reframed, kind of my thinking around what the focus of this is going to be in grade 9. Because if he's asking me that question, I'm wondering how many other kids have those same questions. There's also going to be the social and emotional development. We know, again, that, as I said earlier, and from what you've heard from Mr. Gagnon too, our kids are in so many different places, physically and emotionally and mentally. And so we're going to be looking at, how do we make proper decisions? How do we use social media appropriately? The importance of getting involved in our schools. Physical and mental wellness, not just in the present, but long term. How do we deal with conflict effectively? How do we have mature conversations? Stress management, planning for the future, service learning, which, as you heard earlier, is alive and well in our elementary schools. We'd like to bring that into the high school as part of our curriculum. Accepting differences among each other and making new friends. And then the third part of that would be the development of self-regulation skills. And self-regulation, as it says here, is the ability to monitor and control behavior, emotions, and thoughts, and alter those in accordance with the demands of the environment. And as it also says at the bottom, it includes the abilities to inhibit first responses, resist interference from irrelevant stimulation, and persist on relevant tasks even when we don't enjoy them. So what does that mean? That means not paying attention to the TV or your phone while you're trying to do your homework even though you don't want to do it. The mature method of the self-regulation is having an awareness of the demands of any given situation. Being able to monitor our own behavior, thoughts, and strategies. giving due consideration to how successfully we're meeting the demands of the situation, and the ability to change aspects of our current functioning to fit the situation or to accomplish a goal, especially when we are running low on motivation. And those are all acquired skills. Those are skills that we acquire through reflection. Those are skills that we acquire through having conversations with an adult who can help us recognize some of these things that maybe we can't see for ourselves yet. But they're important. Students who have self-regulation and are able to develop it, this is the upside. They have a better academic performance. They are able to develop problem-solving skills much better and much faster. Their reading comprehension goes up. They have more satisfying interaction with their peers. They have a higher level of intrinsic motivation. They have higher self-worth, perceived competence, and self-efficacy. They have a higher ability to appreciate moral cognition and moral conduct, doing what's right, fewer behavior problems, and lower levels of mental health issues. And just some examples would be depression and anxiety, some of the more common things that we see with our kids at the high school. So we're trying to get out ahead, I think, as we go into fiscal year 15, of some issues that I think are pervasive across the country, not just at Auburn High School. And the Freshman Academy approach is something that we're excited about. And again, I'd be happy to speak to that in more depth in February once we have everything nailed down pretty tight. But that's our, kind of another add-on major initiative to our building this year. In terms of our enrollment, we're projecting out 703 students, and last year we projected out 675. That asterisk is there. The first asterisk is there as it denotes if every single student in grades 9, 10, 11, and 12 who live, who reside in Auburn came, or are part of the Auburn Public Schools came, that's what we would have for an enrollment. Over the years, we've been able to kind of fine-tune our projections, and the last few years, we typically can get our enrollment within plus or minus 5%. So we are expecting October 1 numbers for next year to be 665, and that's a 5% decrease. This year's October 1 total was 653, and that was a 3.46 decrease off of our projected total. So that's important, because it's important to know what we need for supplies, what we need to budget for, et cetera, et cetera. There was a time when we first started doing this that we would have to budget as high as 10%. But as we're getting under 5%, that means our kids are staying. That means we're having a lot of people move into town. And so that's a good thing. It's a good thing. In terms of budget, I'll try to just hit the highlights here for you. Principal's office supplies is down quite a bit. Some of that was moved to classroom supplies. Some of it was just cut because, as Mr. Gagnon alluded to, we do operate on a zero-based budget philosophy, and so as we looked around, we do have things in excess that are not needed to reorder for next year. Postage, principal's development are all relatively the same. Principal's dues, Mr. Scobie, just to your question, I could probably illuminate it a little just easier because I had it at my fingertips. Just as an example to what Mr. Gagnon was talking about. So the Massachusetts Secondary Schools Administrators Association, the American Supervision for Curriculum and Development, National Association for Secondary Schools and Principals, Phi Delta Kappan, which is a journal which a lot of information that I used tonight I took out of. National Council for Staff Development, the American School Counselors Association, NEASC comes with a $3,500 price tag every year, and then the Central Mass Secondary Schools Administrators Association. So those are their dues / membership costs, and as Mr. Gagnon said, those costs, when you weigh out, say what professional development would be to go do some other things, it's a much cheaper way and more efficient for us to kind of get some of this information.
Thank you.
Sure. I just happen to have it at my fingertips. Classroom supplies is up a little bit. That is primarily due to the fact that in math we need 40 replacement TI-84 calculators that are about $4,000. The art supplies is about the same. Printing supplies is up a little bit, but as Mr. Gagnon alluded to, we are in the middle of doing an audit on our usage. of printing supplies, and so that number may or may not go down this year. Our graphics number has stayed the same, wood tech is the same. Staff travel went up $200, and that's because we have a lot of teachers who are participating in summertime MIMSI or pre-AP workshops, and so we pay their mileage from Auburn High School to wherever the training site is and back. Commencement's up just a little bit. Curriculum competitions, you'll see a big jump. That's because I've put money in the budget this year for Model United Nations and for We the People, our government competition group. And I just feel it's important that we're funding our kids who are going out to competitions and academically as much as we can. This won't cover, I think, all of their costs, but it'll make a good dent in it. And the superintendent's been very helpful in helping us, get our kids to where they need to go. Awards is the same. Library supplies is up a little bit. That's due to the more ebooks that we're purchasing. We're seeing our ebooks being used pretty regularly by our kids. And so our Mrs. Dutton, our library specialist, is looking to increase that. Our AV supplies has a downturn to it, and that's thanks in large part again to the Cable Committee in Auburn. We appreciate their assistance. We're able to secure some things through them that not only benefit AHS but allow AHS to do things for the town. So we appreciate their support. Guidance supplies is up about $3,000. That is to what Mr. Gagnon said earlier. We're going to have the Ready Step, which is the precursor to the PSAT. We're going to be doing that in October of grade 9, starting next year. 504 supplies is $250. That's a standard amount that we all build in for any of our students on 504s who need certain things. And then the balance is physical plant costs, and those numbers came from Mr. Fahey. And you can see that there are some dips and some increases, mostly dips, on what those are. And we are not asking for any additional staff for next year. And that's it for us. And so you're welcome to ask questions, Mrs. Gribbins.
Thank you.
And Mr. Scobie and anybody else.
I'm not sure if he's ready for mine. Mine are in regards to the freshman academy, which
Sure.
I think is a great idea, and I know you haven't fully put it together yet.
Right.
As you said, it's just a frame right now.
Right.
One of my general questions was, how much collaboration will there be between you and the middle school as far as who's coming up, and how much do you have now? I'm sure there's some there,
Yeah.
and I'm sure the transcripts follow the students, but as far as the students with significant, I shouldn't say significant needs, with some needs who may not be on an IEP, but they
Right.
may need in certain areas that haven't been documented.
Sure.
Does that information follow them from the middle school? And if it does, I think this freshman academy would be a perfect place for that to go.
Yeah, it does on 3 levels. Well, actually on 4 levels. Between Mr. Gagnon and myself, for any students who really need serious attention. Ms. Donahue and Mr. Giordano, for students who are on the radar more regularly than maybe they should be. We do have our collaboration between our special education staff, which they work in tandem with transition meetings, and then we have our department heads in the speaking with the 8th grade teachers as we're getting ready to place our kids and make decisions around that. So there's quite a bit there, and so I see what's in place assisting us in helping meet the needs of those kids as they transition out of 8th grade into 9th through this freshman academy piece.
And I know it's part of the high school, but we're calling it the freshman academy. Will
Sure.
there be any different assessment incoming, so that you know where they're gonna be placed in this academy? And I know it's early, so I don't
Sure,
wanna put you
so,
on the spot.
right, no, that's fine. So I have thought about that, and I've discussed it with folks at the high school. I don't think what we're seeing is, we're not envisioning kind of a substantive change in how we currently place kids academically. I think what we're doing is still meeting them where we're meeting them now, but we're making kind of a school within a school, if that makes sense. That we're taking, 100 and whatever it is, 65 freshmen, and putting them kind of within their own unique program with teachers, that are totally, into kind of helping the freshmen transition out of middle into high school in all of the ways that I described earlier. Within that, just as we do now, students would have the ability to move up and down and as necessary. But we're looking at this really as a way to bring them together early, help them develop really solid foundational skills, and then as they get ready to move out of grade 9 into 10, 11, and 12, they're going equipped with all of the tools that they need, and will know that every single child has been through the same kind of, I use the word boot camp, and in some respects that's what it would be, an academic boot camp, if you will, to be successful in their classes, but also to have that connection with faculty in the building, have that connection with each other as students in the building, and over time have that organically develop into, not that when we have a great school culture now, but just to improve upon it. We can always get better. So that's kind of where we're at now.
It sounds like a great idea. Will it affect scheduling at all, or will you schedule?
Yeah, it will, and it might be. It's going to be something that we're going to have to think about. We're already thinking about it. We had a meeting yesterday. I was talking with the director of guidance today at length about it. It may require a little bit more hand scheduling to make it work, because ideally what we want to do is have a real tight, kind of wrap on these kids, and so that's going to mean that they are with certain teachers, the same teachers, so that we can, catch kids who are struggling early on, and kind of work with them and get them through, and hopefully have them ready to go into grade 10, 11, and 12.
Okay, and I think one final question, unless
Sure.
it leads to another one.
Sure.
Will there be any opportunities for the upperclassmen to take part in this academy as far as tutoring, mentoring, things
Yes, yes. We actually, one phase of this, and it was something that actually came out in our meeting yesterday as we were talking about this, we would like to put a buddy system in place where we either have, almost as we're doing a one-to-one computing initiative, a one-to-one kind of senior to freshman, or, something like that, 1 to 3 or 1 to 5, however it breaks out, to kind of, the big brother, big sister type mode. So that's definitely in there too. It's really, there's a lot to it, but yes, that's there too.
That's excellent. I can't wait to hear the rest of the plan as it
Yeah,
unfolds.
it's a work in progress, and it's, like I said, it's rolling along. It's one of these things that, it's hard to develop budgets and everything else in October for next fiscal year, and we understand that all has to happen. So this is one of these ideas that kind of started, it's been in the back of my brain for a while, but with the one-to-one computing initiative coming up and other discussions that we've been having kind of middle to high school, I think this is the perfect time to get it off the ground.
I think it's a great idea, and I think it's a great way to acclimate them to the high school. Thank you, that's all I
Great.
have.
Sure.
Liz?
First of all, I just want to say that, Kyle, our student representatives can ask any questions that they want. So as I'm asking my 1 or 2 questions, if you have any that you want to prepare for when I'm done, certainly ask. Quite a few years ago, we had a student here on the board with us that would ask questions, and I thought it was really cool because it gave us a lot of insight, so please feel free. My only question to you, Mr. Hanfield, is why don't you talk to me a little bit, or talk to us a little bit about professional development, and how, and if you feel that you need more or less, or everything's good?
Overall, I think it's fine. I think it's adequate. It's more than adequate for what we're doing. We're fortunate in the sense that we have a lot of professional development, I guess, angles that we employ to make sure that our staff is getting the training that they need, whether it's through pre-AP, race to the top, grant funds, whether it's through our own internal kind of professional development days that we do in March, whether it's through our association with MIMSI, whether it's through Mr. Bouvier, whether it's through sending our teachers out as we did just this last PD day to a flipped classroom workshop, and then those teachers came back and presented to our faculty at a faculty meeting. I think that it's more than enough there, and if there's something that teachers are missing or feel that they need that we aren't currently providing, we find a way to make it happen, provided that it strikes at what our core beliefs are as a school district and what our mission is. And for the most part, the requests that come across my desk and the conversations I have with my teachers, they do that. But those are very far and few between, because they are getting, through the variety of PD offerings that we provide, a lot of rich and varied experiences. Some of the things that will come up, like the Freshman Academy, this is something that, kind of came around in the last month and a half. So there will be some PD that I'm sure will be needed around that. One will be, to your point earlier regarding the iPad pieces. Our teachers in our building, the majority of them, I think, are familiar, and some are extremely adept at using them in their classrooms. And as we do our walkthroughs at the high school, we see them being used quite a bit, as well as other mediums of technology. But for the Freshman Academy type of approach, what are going to be the best uses of those iPads with those freshmen? And so with town meeting graciously approving the school department's request, I've already forwarded the number that we're going to need for teachers next year. Those will be in the hands of our teachers within the next 2 weeks or sooner if they get here. And we're going to start facilitating the professional development for our teachers around that. As Dr. Brunel said earlier, the other teachers in the building are craving the iPads as well, to start using them in their classrooms. So again, I feel it's more than adequate, and I think as the needs arise, we're able to handle whatever comes our way without an issue.
So the professional development that's being proposed is enough? We don't need to, in your opinion?
I don't think so. I mean, in just speaking to my respective building, I don't think so, and I think, as I was listening to the presentations tonight, I mean, it's all consistent with what we've been talking about as a leadership team and as a group. I think certainly if they felt that that they needed more, I think that they would certainly say that. But, not just in my building, but as I look up and down, I mean, I've got 2 kids in the middle school, I've got nephews in the elementaries, and of course, being the nerdy academic that I am, I'm always asking what they're doing in the different buildings, and they're telling me all the things that they're doing with different forms of technology and iPads and things like that. So I can only speak to it in that regard, but from what I'm hearing from, my plants in the buildings, it's going very well, and I think it's a compliment to the teachers there and the principals that they're doing that. Again,
Yeah,
some.
But at the high school, you feel you've got enough?
Well, I don't think we have in terms of PD, yeah. I mean, technology, I don't think you can ever have enough.
Well, no, I wasn't going down there, but yeah.
But in terms of PD, yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I think it's fine, and certainly if I didn't think that, we'd be talking about it internally.
Okay.
But we do, I think we do a lot, I think we get a lot in a variety of venues, not just professional development, through channels that don't require upfront cash, and I think
Okay.
that's a credit to Kathy and to Mary Ellen, because they're the ones who kind of set the course on that. So as a building principal at the high school, I feel very comfortable with that.
The reason that I keep asking this about professional development is I feel like it's the one that always gets slashed. I just,
Yeah.
and I just kind of, it's
Well,
bothersome to
well,
me,
you're
yeah.
right. I mean, I think it is something that historically, I mean, this is my 9th year in the district, and I think historically you're right. I can remember years ago that the PD lines would be very high, and it would be the first to get cut. But I think at that time, it was under different leadership, and I think it was the perspective on how to deliver PD was different than what the current leadership is now. And not to say either one is right, but the one that we have now is working quite well. And if it's not costing us a lot of money, then maybe it's the right one.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So just to provide a quick summation, I do want to thank all of the leadership. Several of you were here last night, some could not be back here again. But truly, it is always about having a team to make things work. Not only the men and women that are in the room tonight, but obviously all members of the APS team that includes every member that works with us each and every day. So just some of these slides actually speak to things that we talked about last night, so I'll go a little more quickly through these. I believe, and I hope that you would believe too, that much forward progress continues to be made in the district. The sharing our strengths, successes, and tackling our challenges presentations in October really highlighted those, as well as comments that were shared tonight by the leadership. And again, it always comes back to our laser-like focus on students and their achievement, fully recognizing that what we do with our students in classrooms will ultimately be the biggest driver of their success. Ken Blanchard said, "Genuine success does not come from proclaiming our values, but from consistently putting them into daily action." And the budget that we presented to you tonight and last night as well really does that. It puts in priority order what it is that we believe makes for excellent education for the students of Auburn. We started with our core values, all of which are listed here and which you've heard referenced both tonight and last night. And those core values, as they have done since 2008, have driven our decisions and our questions, our thinking, always asking the question, how will this impact students and their achievement? The priorities, just to remind you from last night that was shared, student safety is always of the utmost importance. We have an Auburn Middle School building project that actually is two-tiered because we'll be opening the current middle school next school year in the fall of 15 for grades 3 to 5, both of which are requiring tremendous coordination, but the goal and the prize is going to be well worth the effort. Class size remains a priority. Student achievement obviously is top along with safety, textbooks, and the continued implementation of the EdEval system. Technology you've heard, and really using that as a tool to enhance the rigor and relevance that we expect of ourselves and of our students daily. You heard last Monday a presentation regarding expanding the eighth grade pilot into the recommendations of the digital learning team and moving that up on a tiered level starting next year with grades 8 and 9. We have a commitment to continuous improvement. Regardless of the progress that we make, there will always be more to be made. That's an exciting piece and sometimes a frustrating piece of the work that we do. Our work truly is never done. We focused on the strategic plan, both the one that's currently in place and our excitement about the one that we'll start to craft on Saturday, as well as our district and school improvement plans. We've increased our AP offerings, both in terms of participation and qualifying scores, and we want to see that trend continue. In total, it's really about strengthening our connections through rigor, relevance, relationships, a theme that has been interwoven through all of the presentations shared. To remind you of our assumptions, federal sequestration does remain an issue. We've budgeted conservatively using this year's numbers for the grants, less 10%. We've anticipated Medicaid reimbursement to be as it is this year at $124,000, with circuit breaker reimbursement being at 60%. There truly has been little guidance from DESE around this at this point, but we anticipate as the state gets into their budget season that more should be forthcoming. We continue to use all 41 students for school choice, 26 at the high school and 15 at the middle school. We've utilized our offset in all revolving accounts and included the bus fee of $100 per student. The multi-layered approach is one that we've used these past few years. So each member of the leadership team really works with their staff to seek their input to create and bring forward a budget that goes before Mr. Gray, Dr. Lozay, and myself, as well as Mr. Campbell this year, and to actually speak to how it is that what they're requesting addresses the priorities, the top one being students and their achievement. Throughout this fall, we've met on numerous occasions, and a couple of them alluded to the fact it really is a challenge to create a budget so early in one school year and project into the next, but I appreciate the hard work that everyone has assumed in that process. So to summarize, the new staffing requests that we have, and I've highlighted on the right-hand side, abbreviated in many instances, how these actually tie to our core values and our overarching goal of responding to needs based on data. And this has been long in place, increasing our one-to-one IAs and ABAs. It's listed here for elementary, you'll see it a little later under middle school as well, to make sure that these individuals who are hired to support specific students' needs will actually mirror their exact school day. It's really a relatively low cost, but it addresses both our commitment to student safety as well as high expectations. Some students simply require more support in order to be successful. We also are looking for 2 ELL tutors. That would provide us with 1 at each of our elementary schools. We have 1 currently at the middle school and the 1 up at the high school who provides support to those students. We currently have a little over 70 students designated as ELL, and I think there are 13 different languages or thereabouts that they are speaking. So this is an area of challenge for us, but we are seeing also, though I'm glad to report, some really positive gains from them. At Mary D, addressed was students coming from the preschool would need to have an additional IA as well as an additional ABA. And then in terms of an equity issue, what we noticed, and we really tried to focus on that this year, to look and see, were we providing equitable opportunities across schools? And what we found was that starting from 3rd grade up, we had 1 inclusion IA who was able to support at per grade level. We did not have that in place at the primary schools. We do this year because of your support of bringing in 2 instructional assistants to Bryn Mawr due to class sizes, but we did not have that for Mary D. Stone. And this really ties in extremely well with our inclusion and co-teaching priorities that we have, so to bring in those supports. We're not requesting it for kindergarten because, as you know, we have an IA in each of our kindergarten classrooms already. Mrs. Lopez spoke to the need for an additional 4th grade teacher. We want to be sure that we go in with class sizes anticipated to be 25 or less, with students already numbering 98 at the 2nd grade level who will go to grade 3, based on historical information that we have that would likely very quickly get over the 100 mark. Additionally, and this is tied directly to IEPs, as some were from Mary D. Stone, we have some incoming preschoolers who IEPs require special education one-to-one IAs, as well as adding a special educator for co-teaching and inclusion. And again, this is around an equity issue. When we looked at our staffing patterns at our elementary schools, what we found was that there were 2 special education teachers at each elementary school. But in the 2 schools, Bryn Mawr and Packagug, where we also have an intensive special ed classroom, there was an additional 1 at Packagug. There was not an additional inclusion 1 at Bryn Mawr. So really, this will allow for the co-teaching to really take off next year. Not that it's in a bad place this year, they've been very creative with it, but it's equitable opportunities and really about high expectations. We made it's a commitment we have every year, but as part of the goals that you had accepted, was to really look at our low incidence populations and those that continue to struggle. Our ELLs, our special education students, and it's a real priority for us, and we believe this PD, as well as the staffing support, will help us reach our goal. I've spoken to the expansion of the aid hours at the middle school, and Mr. Gagnon did a great job of highlighting the need for the media iPad integration specialist there as well. And then finally, again, to an equity issue, and this has been in existence, I can speak to it being in existence since at least 2001, and I think even before that. I don't know why it was. I'm sure there's a history, there always is. We've never subscribed to it's the way it is and the way it's always been. Quite honestly, in priority order, in years past, it's not that this was unrecognized, it just couldn't be addressed, and we think that really this is the time that we really have to step up and make sure that those opportunities are available across town in a very similar fashion. As I noted last night, we've used offsets throughout grants, school choice funds, Medicaid, and every revolving account, and that really is in an effort to try and minimize the impact of the school department's budget. So in total, the FY15 draft budget is $23,278,408, which represents a 4.29% increase over the approved amount this year, which is $22,320. If you recall, last year at this time, our first presentation came through to you at a 5.635% increase over FY13. And I think some statistics that are very important for us to keep in mind. You as a school committee and us as a district and all of us combined total have really worked very collaboratively with the town to be sure that we're providing the best opportunities we can for our students and doing so in a very fiscally responsible manner. What this chart shows is the actual dollar increases in the approved school department budgets starting from fiscal 9 to 10. You can see that that actually realized a reduction of $13,850, and then going up each subsequent year moving forward. So in total, so during this time period from 2009 to 2014, our overall budget has increased $1,721,608. The other piece of this that we need to keep in mind is Chapter 70 has likewise seen increases during that same time period. And if you draw your attention down to the bottom line, so during the same time period, Chapter 70 has increased $2,333,794, which very roughly speaking is about $610,000 more that's been received in Chapter 70 over this time period than what we have received in increases for the school department. And this just highlights that differential there. And truly I raise this because I think it's important that we all, and we should be proud of this fact, that we've worked very hard to be collaborative, and I think it's the right way to do it, with the town of Auburn as a whole. There's been some challenging fiscal times. I think we have weathered them well together, those being employees, leadership team, school committee, but we've always maintained our commitment to our mission, which is to educate and prepare students for the challenges and opportunities of a changing world. So just to highlight and go through some of these words actually that you heard, we talk an awful lot about rigor. Throughout the presentations, both last night and tonight, I would offer to you that each of these items, plus certainly many more, and several of them said tonight that there's an awful lot of redundancy. That's purposeful, and actually I think that makes great sense, because otherwise we would be trying to do far too many things and not doing them in any great depth. Better that we take a few priorities and really try to go deep with them. The core curriculum that we have is rigorous. Writing across the curriculum, we've got STEM programming, the Keys to Literacy training, the iPad integration, and implementation of the Common Core state standards, to name just a few. In terms of relevance, that job embedded in sustained trainings on district priorities rather than doing hit or miss or one-shot wonders as the research would report them as, we've really tried to focus our efforts not only financially but time-wise, probably the most precious commodity we have. The goals of the educator evaluation system, and I give tremendous kudos to all of the individuals in the room as well as all of our teachers across the district. They've really embraced this new ed-eval system that is cumbersome, it's demanding, but instead of looking at the challenges that it presents, we've chosen to see how can we utilize this to really integrate what it is that we're trying to do in the schools. So it's been really a tremendous success. Not without its bumps along the way, and there will be more to come, I'm sure, but it's always been done in a spirit of cooperation, and that's kudos to all involved. And then also the collaborative summer work. That really is to ensure the rigor. There's work that happens across our schools and also for transitions as well. In terms of the relationships, the co-teaching and inclusion is really intended to support all students. Not any one of us can do our work alone. Whether it's through co-teaching, the horizontal or vertical team meetings that are happening, and those happen across grades pre-K through 12, the strengthened transitions. We have transitions in place at every level, and in adding this freshman academy, I think will strengthen that even further going to the high school, as well as the ongoing community service learning, which really are the relationships that we have with the community, from whom we get a great deal and for whom I believe we provide as much in return. Responding to needs based on data, you heard tonight about some summative assessment data that we use. And the biggest question that we want answered with that is, so what does the data tell us? And what changes do we need to make as educators to improve the results that we're getting from our students, with every decision being made against the backdrop of how will this impact students and their achievement? So the next steps, the town's budget kickoff, last year it was held in early December, we've not yet been notified about that. There's really very little, if any, talk coming from the State House around the governor's budget and preliminary Chapter 70 figures. Generally, those don't come out until midwinter, and as soon as they do, we can share that. Federal sequestration, it remains an issue. It's somewhat slightly temporarily resolved, but the issues around it continue to loom, and the guidance is quite vague at this point. And as we do each year, we've begun the process very early to make sure that there's ample time for discussion, review, and revision if necessary. So as I reminded you last night, we've got 2 school committee meetings in December, the 4th and 18th, as well as one scheduled for January 8th. We always have the option to add additional ones if needed. The school budget, and that should say 2015, I apologize, will be added to the agenda for further discussion. And then the goal being, or the requirement being, to have that to Town Manager Jacobson by January 13th, which is the second Monday in January. So as Tom Landry said, setting a goal is not the main thing. It is deciding how you will go about achieving it and staying with that plan. So we have lofty goals for ourselves and for our students. We believe that the budget that we've presented to you tonight will give us the tools to actually go about achieving it and staying with the plan that we've put in place. So I thank you on behalf of the entire district for your support. I know we all agree that our students deserve nothing less than the very best we have to offer them. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd be happy to answer any questions, or even any member of the leadership team, if you have any, for any of them. Although they may leave me up here alone, I'm not sure. Let's see.
George, Doug?
Just some closing statements, if you have any questions, go ahead.
I don't have any questions. I just, as we were going along, I sort of made a list of some of the great things that the district is doing and asking to be able to do in the future. I mean, our anti-bullying, the social skills, the technology, the service learning, fantastic service learning, in my opinion, is so important to teach our students. Early literacy, moving forward with math programs, STEM, which is now STEAM, PSATs in the 9th grade, and of course the freshman academy. We're doing some really great things, and I hope that everyone here understands that our questions and going forward, we have the utmost respect for all of you. And personally speaking, if any of my questions or anything suggests that I have nothing but the most respect for you, I apologize. And Mrs. Kuzak, I just felt really bad when I was, so it kind of threw me off for the rest of the night. But I have the utmost respect. You guys are doing a wonderful job, and I'm just really excited, and that's where a lot of my questions come from, is I'm so excited about what you're doing and where we're going, and I wish we could support everything that you're asking for, and I would love that to happen. So let's see if we can get the most that we're hoping for. So
Great.
Well, you stole the show.
sorry.
Boy, did you.
I didn't make a list, so I apologize for not listing all the wonderful things that you've done. But I just want to thank you for getting together as a leadership team, collaborating, and bringing all these presentations forward. They were very informational. It was great. I had very few questions. I still have very few questions, and I just hope that moving forward, we're able to supply you with whatever you need going forward, budget-wise. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be difficult. There's going to be some difficult conversations had by all, and I just hope that that moving forward, we can come up with the numbers that you're looking for. Thank you.
Thanks.
I would just like to say, I've been on a school committee for a while now, and when I first come on the school committee, I was always worried when it came budget time. I mean, it was so rough and hard to deal with at that time, and it just seems, changing from them to now, it's almost like great to be here during budget time because you people are all working as a team. And I hate to say it, in the past, I didn't see that as well. But I just want to say, as the team that we have right now, including the superintendent, the business manager, and all of you, it just makes it exciting to see the new programs, the new technology that are coming out. We got the middle school, we got that new high school, and then the collaboration between the high school, the middle school, and the elementary schools are unbelievable. I've seen so much growth with this team that I have seen on any team since I've been on this school committee, and I want to thank every single one of you, and hopefully we can, as Liz and George are saying, hopefully we can do the best with this budget for you and our students. And I want to thank you personally.
Well, thank you. On behalf of the leadership team, we appreciate your support, and we look forward to working with you through this process. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, that's it, right? I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So be it.